Okay, morning everybody. Welcome to another round of coffee and questions. And so what's today's topic? We'll talk about the Chicago Electric Adjustable Steel Welding Table, and it's sold for $69.99. Apply the 20% coupon, you get it for $56. Sounds like a great buy and a handy little table, but we'll take a little bit more of an in-depth look, talk about some of the quirks, some of the things that you can do. Now, the first one is somebody said, why bother? Why don't you just add more money to it and buy the one from Eastwood? Well, I don't think there's a big difference between the two. I took a look at both of them, and somebody could drop a comment. I just think you're overpaying for the exact same table. So let me show you a picture real quick. Okay, so here's the one from Eastwood for $114, ships free, prime. You know, I'll leave it in the link below. You can do the comparison yourself. Now, I'm going to do a side-by-side real quick. I want to show you. To me, they look almost identical. Okay, so here they are side by side. I mean, there is a couple of differences, but to me, it looks like the exact same table. So I don't know. I mean, you know, the choice is yours depending on what you want to do, but we'll have a discussion. Here we go. Okay, so the one that one of the guys in the club bought and brought it back, I mean, it looks like the one here in the picture. And so let's talk about the negatives and some of the things that you can do. When it's fully assembled, it has a little bit of a rock to it. It doesn't sit level. And it sat a little lower than what he wanted. He's tall like I am. So what we did is we put this up on 4x4s. It gave it a 4-inch rise. And then we secured it, you know, to that 4x4, you know, the legs. And that gave us that 4-inch height. It also gave us the ability to shim it a little bit and make it nice and sturdy, I mean, and level. Now, if you want it for portability, you're not going to want to do that because it does collapse. You're able to put it away very easily, but we wanted it just a little bit higher. It's fine the way it is. I mean, for what you're getting for the price. I mean, so don't get me wrong. It's just we had the wood laying around. We wanted it, like I said, just a little bit higher. And be careful when you put this together. What I would tell you, you put everything together loosely, just finger tight, tweak it a little bit and play around, then snug it up. Now, don't over tighten this. This is made out of very thin metal, and so it can start to collapse on you easy if you start to tighten it up a little too much. So you want to be careful, you know, about that. Now, the other complaint was the work surface is uneven. I didn't really pay that much of attention to it. I mean, it's fine for what it is. It's a basic, simple little welding table, and, you know, it functions fine for that. So if you're that critical about it, you know, yeah, you might want to consider, you know, throwing more money in and getting something better, but it's a very doable welding table. Some people said it's kind of a pain to fold up. I didn't think it was. I thought it folded up easy. They wanted to talk about, well, why are the grooves up there on the top? Well, that's so that you can use clamps, and you can actually clamp, you know, your metal in there and secure it real well, you know, prior to tack welding or welding. So that's why the grooves are there. It's kind of a nice thing. And, you know, we all know Harbor Freight sells plenty of vice grip clamps and stuff like that for you to welding clamps for you to use. So while you're out there, I mean, if you're picking it up in the $50 range, you might want to pick up the clamps too. You know, that's up to you, but that's what the grooves are for, to answer your question. You'll see the knob on that left over here. If you loosen that up, it has about 5 positions, and you can actually tighten it in between, but it's a tilt table. So, I mean, if you wanted to, yes, you can tilt it. So that's what they're for. And you'll see in the very front there, that black with those little, they're like wing nuts that hold it on. If you loosen those up, that rail comes up, and it'll give you the ability to create 90 degrees, you know, on here for welding, you know, just with a little bit of playing around. But I would still not trust this 100%. If you're going to use it to weld things that are square, I would still check it with a square. I mean, just to make absolutely certain before you tack weld it. Comment: besides Eastwood, Northern Tool sells one that's on casters. It's a better tool, or it's a better table, and it costs more money. Okay, yeah. But I'm going to stick with talking about this one for right now. I mean, I suppose if there's a lot of them out there, you can do an eBay search, you can do an Amazon search, Northern Tool, Eastwood, whatever you want, and they're going to cost you more. But this is very doable. I mean, it really is. Even though it's made out of a very flimsy kind of tube steel, it's still, I mean, it still will work, is what my point is. So if you want to put more money into it because you want something better, yes, of course. I just got, if I were you, I mean, if this is what your criticism is about it, when I first started, let me just say, I welded on the ground, out in the driveway, on the concrete driveway. I would lay everything out. I would clamp, I would do whatever. And it's a little bit of a pain, okay? And it starts to bother your back if you're doing a lot of welding. So to have something up, bring it up to the, where you are, even if you've got to use 4x4 blocks or whatever you got to use, it's still okay. I mean, even at this height, I could get by with it very easily. And my biggest advice, you can look through my playlist. One of the first things, I mean, for $50 or thereabouts, this will get you by, and then you should turn around and design your own welding table. Steel is not that expensive out of the steel suppliers that I go to. A lot of times they sell cutoffs, and I pick up a lot of stuff like that, and I sit there and ahead of time and I sketch it out on paper, and I go out and I get decent, thickness, in tube steel, round, whatever you want to buy, and I get it all home. And I start cutting and tack welding, and actually making your own welding cart is a lot of fun. You can buy the casters out at Harbor Freight. A lot of stuff, you can get from Harbor Freight to add to your welding table, but making your own welding table is a great project. It really is. What do I do with it after you make your own welding table? I don't know. It's lightweight. Use it for a gardening stand or something. I mean, I don't know. That's up to you. I mean, I don't know what to tell you about that. I mean, you can use it for a lot of other things, really. How's it plated? It's zinc plated, so it resists, any kind of rusting. It's not super thick. I mean, I wouldn't put like a tremendous amount of heat to it. If you do, you're going to get a lot of warping and stuff. Now, somebody made the comment in here, well, if I had this table and we get the wobble out of it, like I'm saying, and I could put a piece of plate steel about that same size, right on top. Yeah, you could do that too. It's up to you. You can make modifications to this, I mean, however you want. But understand, it's originally constructed out of very thin-walled, tube steel. So you don't want to put a whole lot of weight on here. You'll make this thing collapse on you. It's a lightweight, light project, DIY, get you by kind of a welding table. That's my opinion overall on it. You want something better, my advice is, unless you really want to spend the money and buy it, make it. Like I did, like I said in the previous videos, I show you how I made mine. You can make your own modifications to it, put hooks, baskets, whatever you want to do. It's a lot of fun, I mean, to design your own, but that's up to you. Okay, so there were a few very common complaints, about this. It's missing the instruction manual. Okay, you could probably figure it out. I don't think it would be that hard, but open up the box. Open up the box in the parking lot when you go out to get it. It's like a cardinal rule of mine. Anytime I can open it up, play with it, or do anything like that out at Harbor Freight, I always do, because I don't want to get home, find out I have to return something. Now, the next biggest complaint, there were three. The next biggest one is some of the welds on this aren't exactly the best, and they're welded at a little bit of an angle. One guy just said no big deal. He just was able to bend it a little bit and tweak it, and it worked out fine. If you find that when you open it up, you're right there in the parking lot, take it back in. Here you go, give me another one. The largest complaint, it's missing the hardware. So you want to open this, even like if you're, like I said, you're out in the parking lot, and make sure everything's in there. I mean, it's going to be hard for you to determine, whether or not it has a little bit of wobble when it's assembled. I get that, but you can make sure all the hardware is there. If it's not, go back inside and here you go. Let them give you another one, or let them produce the hardware for you, because the worst thing is to get it home, realize you don't have the hardware, and you're either going to go back and forth to the hardware store and try to figure out what nuts and bolts to buy and all this nonsense, and it's a waste of time, and you're going to get aggravated, or you're going to take it back. So biggest issue, hardware. So make sure you got the hardware in there no matter what. Like I said, the other tip, make sure you assemble it very loose, adjust things as necessary, then tighten it up. So it's, like I said, it's made out of very lightweight stamped steel. It's going to feel kind of flimsy to you, but for the cost and for the fact that you can use it for other projects down the line, I would tell you it's fairly good deal, really, for what it is, in the $50 range. So, in one way, I mean, I give this a thumbs up for the intermittent DIY guy that just wants something to set outside of his garage when he's welding and then collapse and put it away. or just light projects, okay? And we discussed the modifications. Now, of course, there's a lot of them out there better, and you can pay for them, like I said, or make it your own, however you want to do it. I'm the Home Handyman. I hope you click subscribe. I hope you keep following me. I hope you got something out of the review. If you know a welding table that's better, or you have a better idea on a welding table, put it in the comment below. But I don't think the one from Eastwood is that much different than this, and you're going to pay a hell of a lot more money for it. Best advice, like I said, look around, check eBay, check Amazon. You could check Craigslist too. Maybe somebody's selling a really good used, welding table. But for one that doesn't take up a lot of room and collapses, it's a pretty good deal, really. Anyway, those are just my thoughts. I thank everybody. You have a great day. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.